Hello, and a big welcome to everyone. Thank you for joining us to our Wellness Matters COVID edition webinar today. I am so excited about today's topic. I remember wondering at some point if the topic was a little far down in our schedule about scheduling and how to manage kids at home and all that kind of thing. But I was thinking this morning how perfect it is, because much like when you first start as a new parent and you think you know it all and you realize you don't, I feel every day like I am less certain what I'm supposed to be doing with my 4 kiddos here at home. So very excited for some ideas and answers today. This webinar is about halfway through our series. I invite you to look at the website and see what else we have coming up. One option for you might be our weekly mindfulness meditation. That is tomorrow. And also Christine has one in a couple of weeks again on creating a family manifesto. So I am very much looking forward to that one as well. Our presenter today is Christine Crocker. Christine has been working many years in mental health, but we have been fortunate to have her at River's Edge for the past 5 years. In her practice, she sees adults helping them with all sorts of life challenges, including anxiety, depression, grief, life transitions. She enjoys working with couples, and she uses emotionally focused therapy as well as the Gottman method. And she also works with kids and does a lot of work with families, specializing in blended families as well. As a registered psychologist trained in marriage and family therapy, Christine believes that relationships are central to the health and well-being of individuals, families, and communities. She believes that we function and grow within a system, whether as a member of a couple, a family, or a group. Christine says that she very much enjoys working with families, couples, and individuals who are seeking to help make their life better, wanting to get relationships back on track so they can enjoy their lives together. And that is part of what she is going to help us with today. Her presentation, we're not sure exactly how long it'll last, maybe about 45 minutes or so, maybe a little longer, but we'll definitely have some time at the end for your questions. You will see a chat feature at the bottom of your screen as well as a Q&A. One of the things that has really made these webinars fantastic has been the sharing of participants. So let us know how you're doing. Are you having fun? Not so much, depending on the moment. How are you doing today? And also your questions, and I will share some of those at the end. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Christine.
Well, great. So I'm just going to share my screen here and open up the PowerPoint that I put on. We're going to put it on presentation view. So welcome, everyone. Like Nicole said, my name is Christine Crocker, and thank you so much for spending time with me today. I just recognize time is a valuable resource, and I just want to give you full permission to take what you need from this and forget the rest. I've put some ideas together that I hope will be helpful for you, but again, they're ideas. So like I said, take what you need from this, and hopefully it's a helpful use of your time. Thanks so much for spending some time with us today. So my name is Christine Crocker, and what are we going to do today? Life is turned upside down. I don't know about for you, but for me, my life has really changed so much with all of these changes because of COVID-19. And so I hope to identify some triggers and some changes that have impacted our lives, some needs of the parent as well as your kiddo or teen, the costs and benefits of scheduling, and definitely there's some elements of good enough parenting to help you add to your own unique recipe of daily successes. I always want to reiterate, you have successes. Let's see if we can pull out some of those, and also give ourselves permission that it's okay to be a good enough parent. I tell myself that all the time. A little bit about me. I have 4 children, 2 that came with the husband and 2 that my husband and I had together. So I've got a large age and stage kind of lifespan from 9 until 20 at the moment. I've got a pretty full life, got lots of girlfriends that I lean on for support. And like Nicole said, I work for both public and private practice agencies. Triggers. Whew. There are a lot that we are experiencing with this COVID-19 life change. And so there's some despair. There's a mindset switch from living to surviving. There's triggers of feelings of hopelessness, definitely decreased job security for many. It promotes that social withdrawal. Like when I'm stressed, I withdraw actually sometimes from things that stress me, which breeds loneliness. And then we're in this social isolation, social distancing kind of time frame. Of course, we're feeling lonely during this time. With that decreased job security comes decreased financial security, fear for one's loved ones, right? For those, that are either more medically fragile or general overall worry and fear combined with the health and wellness of those in our lives. So that increased anxiety. Anxiety is also a really terrible anxiety, affects our bodies so much and affects our ability to function, which again, like I said, leads to that despair. So those are our regular stresses that come with this COVID-19 experience. And then on the other side is, of course, there's layers of parenting. Parenting starts the minute my eyes open in the morning and it doesn't end until I close my eyes at nighttime. Parenting is an ongoing full-time job. So there's additional stresses that happen for parents. Parents, are you working from home as well? Did I have to set up an office? Did I have to learn some new online workflows? Are my hours longer because I'm working from home? Will my child, depending on their age and stage, give me the space? Or what does my work day, am I dealing with my kiddos during the day and then I'm working till 10, 11 at night to get my work done? Parenting and teaching. It's the first time I've been a parent and a full-time teacher. Teacher is a superpower and it makes me really realize I'm also learning as a parent and a new teacher, online learning and all the online processes and supporting my kids with this schoolwork in a more full-time capacity than I ever have in my lifetime. And I don't know about you, but I haven't had as many breaks from my children, whether they're going to school or in their social activities. They're not socializing with friends as much for sleepovers or grandparents or whoever that might be. And that level of intensity of being around my children has also raised that level of intensity for me as a parent. Mama needs some time, absolutely. And I need to recognize what I need, what my kids need, because our lives have been turned so much upside down. Is it normal to feel this way? Absolutely. I don't know about you, but I've experienced that roller coaster of some days I'm focusing on schoolwork. I'm like, yeah, I got this teaching thing. We totally rocked that assignment. Or other days I'm focusing on mental health, whether it's me having a teary moment or an anger outburst or the kids. We're dealing with a mental health issue that day, right? Or am I just focusing on survival? Some days I'm like, whew, I put pants on. It was a good day. Really, like just surviving, just making it through the day and really feeling this level of physical exhaustion that's coming with all this newness in our lives, right? When we were first-time parents, all that newness, it was like, oh, the new and the baby and the diaper and all of it. But by the time I had my third child, oh, it's not new anymore. Not that I always had it, but I didn't have the same level of exhaustion with the newness of the baby. So this is all new for us, feeling this level of exhaustion and this roller coaster from feeling, yeah, I've got it, to, ooh, emotionally what's going on, or just kind of surviving. So I always want to audience that we need to be gentle with ourselves, have some self-compassion. When that friend comes to me and says, wow, we had quite a day. My kids just said they hate their teacher, and that's me. I know I've got a loving, kind voice to say, wow, I'm so sorry that that happened to you and that's really hard. And we're always so good at being gentle with others around us. How can I give that loving kindness to myself that I would, easily hand out to a friend in need? I'm my friend in need, and how can I be gentle? Yes, it is normal to feel this way, and things are really hard. So I'm going to kind of go through some self-reflection exercises, and there's no right or wrong to any of this. I think, how am I coping? How is my kid coping with school and all of this? And I kind of, rely a bit on some brain science, and I'll tell you some stories. I am more of a left brain person. So that means I like logic, analysis, sequencing, A plus B equals C. I use language quite clearly. I think in words, and I compute things. I'm more, linear. You do laundry on Saturday, you clean the bathroom on Sunday. Scheduling and linear thinking really personally works for me. My husband, he is a right brain thinker. He is gonna, when we buy the boat, he's a big picture guy, or, he talks about creativity and imagination, arts, motor skills. He's really artistic. He loves music. And he expresses a lot of words in visualizations. He's always painting a story for me with who he is in the world. Doesn't make us right or wrong. We're just different as parents. So our kids relate to us differently because of how I present in the world. So the next is, what kind of kiddo do you have? Well, we all know our kids all bloom in their own way, and every flower is gorgeous, but they are unique. So I've got one kiddo that's that left brain. She will, go through sequencing, and she's very logical, and that right or wrong kind of thinking, she gets more perfectionism and stuck. Whereas the other one is more like, I don't know the day of the week. It's kind of fantastic that this is all less work and a little more flow, and she's really happy with that right brain thinking. So when I, as teacher, left brain, need to teach my right brain child, how do we kind of mold and realize what my teaching style might be or lifestyle compared to my artistic child, and then vice versa? When my husband in his right brainness collaborates with his left brain child, how do we kind of recognize how we interact with each other, realizing that teaching is a superpower. And I am learning. And I'm learning what my child needs as we kind of grow together in this new lifestyle. Next, how do you know yourself as an introvert versus an extrovert? I love people. I get charged up. I love it when I have connection with people, and it fills my bucket and my soul. And so on the infographic here, you can see the extrovert is happy with all of that sensory input and all those things outside of us. And my husband is an introvert. So he is happy to be by himself. He's like, I got this. This is no problem. This social isolation, wow, what do you guys all have a problem with? Whereas for me, I'm like, what? People, where are they? I need to fill my bucket. So then when my husband's home with the kids for the entire day, that is so much sensory input for his introvertedness that he needed to go and have some time by himself to charge his battery. And I was like, ooh, do you not like me? Or I was, worried about my feelings. And I was like, oh, right. Remember, he's an introvert. He's had all this sensory input for the day. I need to be mindful of my personal relationship and what the other person needs from me. So again, take my kids into example. I've got one child who is, this is fantastic. I don't have as much contact with the outside world. I can, withdraw into a book. I'm quite happy with this. But the other child who's like reaching out through a social media platform and eager to talk to every family member possible on, a social media platform is really aching for that social connection. So again, it's knowing who you are and how you are in the world, what your needs are as a person, as a parent, but also what your kids need and how to kind of modulate those social needs for all of our kids. The extrovert aching for some social time outside, and that introvert feeling they've got this. They're feeling settled with the number of social interactions they're having. And what are your values about schoolwork? So before COVID came, what are your values about schoolwork? Are you really tight about education? It's really important. I must do all my homework on time. You're a double AAA student, or to C's get degrees, right? Like, what are your personal values about schoolwork, and have they evolved with me being at home? And then our values about schoolwork also evolve over the school year. And as Nicole said, is this a little too late to kind of talk about this as we move forward into the school year? It's May, is it June? Is it good enough? And what does that, is your personal values about education? And is it, the phys ed education is actually really more important than reading, writing, or math? So it's just knowing what your own personal values are about schoolwork. And then the tricky thing is we have our kids. So some kids are like, yeah, I love education, and they're leaning into it, and just can't get enough of it. Other kids are leaning out of education, and it's a big troublesome fight, and it's difficult to get them to engage in that schoolwork. And is that changed? Was that the same with pre-COVID as it now is post-COVID? Those kids that either lean in or lean out of that schoolwork, or parents that either lean in or lean out. And what are the minimum and maximum hopes and struggles, right? What's the minimum that we need to do today? And what might the maximum be with regards to our views as a parent and as well as for our kids? What's the minimum and maximum? What are those struggles? Oh, because there are a lot, right? I mean, it comes down to even asking my kiddo to, can I write 4 sentences? Ooh, that was hard question, right? And what is that struggle? I think something that has personally grounded me quite a lot, and that I've said a lot to either friends, family, and clients, is that this is a relational crisis, not an educational crisis. COVID-19, treat the big things big and the little things little. COVID-19 is a big thing. This is a big change in our world, and we need to treat it as such. But it's a relational crisis. It's a crisis of connection. It's a crisis of our schedules, our lives, our expectations. There's been so much changed in our world that I just want to empower everyone to recognize that this is not an educational crisis. And this was a quote that was floating around on social media that it really spoke to me personally, that dear parents, don't stress about schoolwork. In September, I will get your children on track. I am a teacher, and that is my superpower. What I can't fix is the social emotional trauma that prevents the brain from learning. And so when I think of that social emotional trauma, that's what our jobs is to soothe our kids. Our place is to make it a calm, share our strength and our laughter with our kiddos. No kids are going to be ahead. No kids are behind. Your children are exactly where they need to be. They will be okay. I haven't heard anything through educators and talking to teachers and friends of teachers that this is good enough. We can do only what we can with the schoolwork that we have. And if I had 2 choices, am I going to relate with my kid or force them in a structural manner to do schoolwork? Oh, I know I'm a therapist, so I'm going to connect, and do my best to manage that mental health as much as I can over this period. And kind of take that perspective of what's the bigger picture. But I also know you need to know what your personal values are and what your kiddos, because it's not my life, it's yours. And you're the head of your ship. You know your kids better than anyone else. And I just want to, give you that, you're doing great and it will be okay. Because then I think of the stages of grief that both we are in and that our kiddos are in. And this stage of grief infographic kind of is a spiral because it's not a linear line. So when this first happens, we're all like, ooh, shock, denial, some anger, I can't believe I can't do things, or some depression, detachment. And then I'm like, oh, well, what can I do? What can't I do? Some dialogue and bargaining. And then I get into some acceptance, like, okay, well, we're doing this. What does that look like? But then something else hits me, smack. A new change happens. I couldn't do something. I couldn't book camping, or whatever new change happened. Then I'm back into that shock and denial. So this cycle is a continuous cycle that we work through, and timeline is not that. It takes everyone different times to go through these different stages of grief, right? So for example, our family normally connected around Easter. We would of course have like a large family meal and we would connect with people, and my daughter said, Mom, is the Easter bunny gonna come this year? And I'm like, oh, right. I hadn't gone out to get, Easter bunny things and kind of taken care of that. But of course, the Easter bunny will come. So we had a full-on meltdown and, hug off around the Easter bunny. But we know it's bigger than that. It's the social connection, it's the routine and the ritual of connection and the time spent with others around that specialness. And so that was her grief. And so, that bubbled up not for her until Easter, whereas it was with my other kiddo, it was their social activity. We're not going to have the dance festival or whatever it was. And, you know, those stages of grief really evolve. And then for myself, right, to be mindful of where I am in my grief cycle and how am I coping in this new big life transition. All of these are losses of the life that we once knew. And I struggle with that term, new normal. Fair, I want to have some values from my previous COVID life that I definitely want to have threads that pull forward. And I think this time has given us that reflection or smack in the face. We can't get away from it about what we need to do to move forward and what is so important as we accept this new world that we're in and navigate this new lifestyle. Name to tame our feelings. That's a term from Daniel Siegel. He's got a great book. See if I had it on the shelf. I don't have it on my shelf today. This is a term from him. So if you've ever just, you know, had to comfort a distressed child, you know that diving right into reassurance or, you know, children are, you know, disadvantaged somewhere else is definitely often not the best place to start. We need to just sit in the muck. Oh, because when I call my buddy and I'm like, oh, I can't believe it's terrible happening, I want them just to go, yeah, that is terrible. Oh, and just sit in the muck with me and help me name and tame my feelings. So I'm going to show a 2-minute video. It's by Brene Brown and it's called Sympathy versus Empathy. So I'm just going to open up a different window here and we tested this sound, so hopefully it works. But if you also Google on the YouTube, Sympathy versus Empathy, Brene Brown, it'll come up.
What is empathy and why is it very different than sympathy? Empathy fuels connection. Sympathy drives disconnection. Empathy, it's very interesting. Teresa Wiseman is a nursing scholar who studied professions, very diverse professions where empathy is relevant and came up with 4 qualities of empathy. Perspective taking, the ability to take the perspective of another person or recognize their perspective as their truth. Staying out of judgment, not easy when you enjoy it as much as most of us do. Recognizing emotion in other people and then communicating that. Empathy is feeling with people. And to me, I always think of empathy as this kind of sacred space when someone's kind of in a deep hole and they shout out from the bottom and they say, I'm stuck, it's dark, I'm overwhelmed. And then we look and we say, hey, climb down. I know what it's like down here and you're not alone. Sympathy is, ooh, it's bad, no, you want a sandwich? Empathy is a choice and it's a vulnerable choice because in order to connect with you, I have to connect with something in myself that knows that feeling. Rarely, if ever, does an empathic response begin with at least. Yeah. And we do it all the time because you know what? Someone just shared something with us that's incredibly painful and we're trying to silver lining it. I don't think that's a verb, but I'm using it as one. We're trying to put the silver lining around it. So I had a miscarriage. At least you know you can get pregnant. I think my marriage is falling apart. At least you have a marriage. John's getting kicked out of school. At least Sarah is an A student. But one of the things we do sometimes in the face of very difficult conversations is we try to make things better. If I share something with you that's very difficult, I'd rather you say, I don't even know what to say right now. I'm just so glad you told me. Because the truth is, rarely can a response make something better. What makes something better is connection.
So there's Brene Brown. She's an author and multimedia mogul. So if you've ever read any of her stuff, she's really great that way. Oh, drat. I went back to the front of our presentation. Here we are at empathy. Let's see. Insert. Sorry about that. I'll scroll through here. Just take a minute, I'll scroll through. So that empathetic response. So when I'm overwhelmed with my feelings, what I really long for is connection. I want to connect with either a friend or family, someone bigger, wiser, stronger than me that just says, wow, that's really hard and I'm here for you. And I hope that we can be that soft place for our kids. And that doesn't mean perfection. Out of 10 times, I want to, be a good enough parent and have at minimum 3, those connection times. Because sometimes I'm like, yep, time to go, not time for feelings. It's time for getting ready for school or whatever that was. So how do I lean in and go, wow, we're really, feeling sad that the Easter Bunny, you're worried that he might not come or that we're not able to go to grandma's house for dinner. Oh, I'm so sorry that you feel so sad that grandma, we can't go over to grandma's and have supper together. Oh, what's that like for you? So, I kind of lean in, I name those feelings to tame them and sit in the muck or kind of sit and talk to my kid about those feelings. That's the place to start. They acknowledge the hurt, and simply being with the hurt for a time is helpful. This is a skill, and I do this for a living, and I don't always use that skill. It's a muscle. So also be gentle with yourself as you practice this empathetic response, because when I'm not my best parent, I'm a bit more sharp. I'm a bit more, let's move on, or, instead of naming to tame. But we're here today trying to, sharpen our saw and try to be, mindful about how to interact with our kids in this overwhelming time of COVID-19, and also how to support myself as a parent. Because we all know that sympathetic response of, ooh, yeah, but isn't always the most helpful. So a bit of a recipe that I like to do is I look at my kids and you feel sad when you're worried that the Easter Bunny isn't coming, because that would be really disappointing. And I bet, what would you like? Oh, I want a hug. I'd like to talk about it. Will I actually get some chocolate? Well, that's what's really important to you, is you'd like to have, the Easter egg hunt or, some chocolate. So we can ask for what you want at the end. And then I think that's the self-soothing time. What do they need to take care of those emotions? And then next, what is the practical thing that we can do that might be helpful? And again, this is a muscle for our kids as well. If not used to the I feel when, because I would like, that's a muscle that us as parents can kind of help tease that out, as well as, kind of get them to ask, well, what would help? What would be helpful for you? And then I think of that age and stage. So I know I'm kind of talking a bit more, the younger kiddos, but then what if you have a teenager? So those developmental stages, either birth to 3, I've got a story that kind of goes along with this. And I didn't come up with this metaphor, I've inherited it from someone else, but that you kind of can, and this is a broad metaphor, it's not true for everyone. So to kind of look at little kids, and I think of like birth to maybe grade 5 or grade 6, so 10, 11, 12, to be dogs or puppies. So dogs or puppies are loyal. When you come into the home, the dog's like, ooh, you're fantastic. I love you. I want to be with you. I want to please you. And dogs and puppies are eager to see you. They want to spend time with you, loyal. They're trainable. So that's where our little kids are dogs or puppies. But then kids turn into teenagers, and they often transition into cats. So when you walk into the home, what does the cat do? They look at you like, oh, you're home. What have you done for me lately? Cats eat when they want. Cats have ideas, and if they want to do it, they will do it. And if they don't want to do something, like walking on a leash, you're dragging them on a leash. So I often think of that metaphor of teenagers being cats, that it doesn't mean that they don't need affection, and all cats are different. Some cats are going to be on your lap and looking for affection, but some cats like that isolation up in the top shelf, or don't want affection until they're ready for it. So my point in kind of bringing up my age and stage for my kids is, what does my schedule look like in my family? If I have puppies or dogs, do I have cats or an old cranky cat with the fur that's a bit more snarky, right? Well, how do I kind of support those different ages and stages for kids? Well, if you're already a dog owner and you like dogs, that's an easy one. Sometimes I'm not as good of a cat owner personally, literally for cats, or for teenagers, because it's a different kind of way to interact with a cat. You don't take things as personally when they're not laying around you, but when they really want you, they're laying and right on you. So sometimes that metaphor of puppies versus cats is a nice way to kind of frame the needs of your children, as well as how do I then interact with my dog or puppy versus my cat. So it's another thing to kind of keep in mind as we're, going through this parenting journey. And then to schedule or not to schedule. And again, it depends on what your values and views as a parent are about schedules. I, linear thinker, love schedules. I like to have a list of what's working, what I hope to do, what I want to do, what I have to do. My husband has a big, schedule. It's a bit of a, there's some, I want to feel good today, or he's got like a more broader right brain feeling of how he'd like his day to go. So that's our views as parents. And then you take your kids' views into it, right? I've got another kid who likes to do her laundry on Saturday and Sunday, just like her mother. And the other one's like, oh, there's no socks in the drawer. I guess I might as well do some laundry. And again, what are your minimum and maximum hopes about scheduling? Is it a struggle for you? Is it easy for you and maybe not as easy for your kids? So some kids will say, oh, schedules are not good. They're too rigid. There's not enough flexibility. There's not enough creativity. And some kids find schedules so helpful that they have that increased feeling of personal control. There's clear expectations and boundaries, and helps them stay on track, including for parents. So just again, have some self-reflection of what helps you as a parent and as a person, and also what kind of aching need your kiddos might have with regards to schedules. And so what do we do versus our dogs or puppies versus our cats, and how do we kind of manage that schedule? So one thing is the benefit about a schedule and having a conversation around is it communicates those family shared goals. So let me take, for example, I've got a sporty family, and sports and athleticism is such a big part of their family value that those goals of physical activity and physical health are going to be the strongest. And then you take another family who loves to read and are crafty. So those shared goals are going to become forthwith on your schedule for the day. I do like a family meeting to kind of help this schedule. I, as a parent, like to have, a meeting with myself and my partner first, and really, hash out what would that look like? What are those values and those importances before I kind of broach into that family meeting, because I'm the CEO with my partner, and we will have an idea, but we can have a shared family meeting and kind of identify what are the kids' goals, what are parent goals, because I am bigger, wiser, stronger, kinder. But I can also say no because I love you as a parent, and I want to do my best to share that love and connection around setting a schedule and setting expectations as well. Because we'll get some increased buy-in from our cats if they have some opportunity to contribute, and if they know what the shared goals are and why these are goals for our family. For elementary school students, that structure is a critical part of developing that sense of security and mastery, right? So most kids, in those elementary school years do feel great. I know math is on this day or time, and that kind of sets that schedule. But for those cats, that shared communication and goal replacement is different, right? Because that cat wants to know why I have to do math or why I have to do something. So how can we, help with that goal attainment and knowing why it's important? Because I want you to be an independent adult one day, like whatever that story that helps them identify that values as we move forward, and creating that family schedule. How to create a schedule? What do you do? So one of my favorite is I want to analyze your day. Just do a little bit of a time study. What's going on in your day? What's working? What's not working? I mean, you can, record step by step throughout the whole day. Another thing that I always think, what was that great day? Stop and reflect. What were some conditions in one of those really great days that I had? Was that my own personal health was stronger? The kids were? Was it how we interacted? So do some self-reflection of what worked and what hasn't worked, and see if you can keep a log of that activity. And then step 2, brainstorm. What is it that I do want? What am I really hoping for? Am I needing less confusion, less arguing, homework done by dinner, and bed before a certain time? So what are my real hopes for our day? What are those real big highlights that I'm interested in? So what are those hot spots of conflict? They used to be the witching hour, you know, right before school and after school. But in our now COVID times, I find that afternoon time is my new witching hour with the kids. You know, we've done some academics or done some scheduled thing, and the afternoon when it's some unscheduled time, my, you know, puppies are like, you know, fighting a bit more. So what is the time that's most difficult for you? What are those hot spots? Dinner times, or often is it the academic time? Is it the unscheduled time? What are the times that are most challenging for you and your kiddos? Write it down. So I know I'm a linear thinker, so I would do a schedule and write it down, but you can also do a pictorial schedule. So often I'll go into a Word document and I'll, you know, put some pictures in and have the kids, whether they're puppies or cats, you know, help me identify what those pictures are to break down what that schedule is. Try it out. Next is try it for a day, try it for a week, and tweak, right? So try it out, see what worked, bring it back and tweak, and, you know, keep refining that process as much as you can. It's a muscle. And the more we try and tweak, the best we can. Some things I even think of that's worked for me is, you know, what's my mood at those different times? And again, bring it back. Is this a survival day for me? Is this a thriving day for me? Where's my grief, right? Like, so I'm the captain of the ship, and I always have to be reflective of where am I. If I'm having a survival day and I've got high priorities for education, ooh, what are we going to do to make it through that day if I'm on a survival day? And to be kind to yourself if that's where you're at. So of course, there's lots of sample schedules out there. This is one that our school gave to us, and then I tweaked a little bit more. You know, our schedules are different. We're not up at 6 or 6:45 getting ready to go to school, off to daycare, or whatever that might be. Or I'm not, you know, starting school at 8:30, 8:45 if I was a teenager. So what are those independent things that you want your puppy or your cat to get up and have some time in? I think for little people, I want to get our wiggles out and to have some physical activity, right? Whether that's Go Noodle, which is that app that's kind of like a videos that you can follow. Is that some yoga or just dance or playing outside now that this weather's nicer? We're getting our bikes or other opportunities over. And then also, how long can your kid last academically? You know, giving their age and stage. Most of us only concentrate for a half hour to 45 minutes. So do I chunk that academic time into those periods? I sometimes have an old school egg timer, or I put a timer on the stove or the microwave. And you know, we're gonna work for this time and then we're gonna take a break. That helps me focus, knowing that we've got only a certain amount of time and that we need to stay focused during that. You know, do we get the pets out of the room? Whatever it is to decrease those distractions as much as possible. And then what is it? Some creative time, lunch, and kind of breaking down your day. What are some chores? I know I have a value of learning other skills. What are we doing for baking? Chores, you know, learning how to use the dishwasher. Yeah, you know how to use the dishwasher. Washing our clothes. So what are some other chores that we can do to contribute to the household? Because many hands make for light work, and they're also learning that value of contribution and supporting and learning what it takes to run a household. Is that budgeting, grocery lists, whatever it might be. And attachment. So if I was a person that buys and sells houses, it's always, you know, location, location, location. For relationships, it's attachment, 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 or connection. So our family attachment is just so vital to our well-being. Without our parents, we can't survive. And so our job during this COVID-19, whether it's a real or perceived threat, our job is to help us connect with our kids, to soothe their worlds, and hopefully part of this scheduling is part of it that helps them connect with you. And I always like to remember, we are enough. I am a good enough parent to have that gentle conversation with myself that I am learning and trying and doing my best to connect and attune with my kiddo. How do I do that? Well, a quick and dirty, I don't think it's like the be all end all, but I do like Gary Chapman's 5 love languages. And so Gary Chapman's view on the world, he's a big marketing machine. Again, you can go and buy books and mugs and lots of different things. But his view on the world is that we all have a love tank. And to fill that love tank, we have these 5 love languages that, you know, when someone spends time with me, I know they really love me. When someone says you're pretty, you're smart, you're, you know, words of affirmation or kind words to me, I know they care for me. When someone physically touches me, oh, that just fills my bucket. Is that a hug, a high five, a pound it, a back massage, a hair brushing, or, you know, styling my hair, putting on makeup? Or is it acts of service? Oh, I so like it when my mom does my laundry, she helps me clean up my room, or those acts of service. Or is it a gift? And a gift doesn't mean a Ferrari. It means, you know, I bought your favorite mangoes, or, you know, here's a new pair of socks, or something like that, something meaningful and thoughtful. So when we reflect on what my love languages are versus my kids, I know I've got one who loves physical touch. I can have a 1-minute hug with that kid. I can rock back and forth, and she just soaks it up like a puppy. Where my teenager is like, yeah, don't touch me unless I touch you first, right? She's going to be that cat that's going to scratch me a bit more. So my teenager uses gifts and words of affirmation. So that's where I buy her special things that I like, she likes with food or other things for her. And then words of affirmation, right? I'll put a sticky note or a heart on her window. You're beautiful, you're smart, you're fantastic, I appreciate you. And if some people are mindful about those words of affirmation, we want to praise the quality of the person and not the action. So we can, of course, say, good job, yay, you got 90% on that test. But in an attachment base, we want to do, yay, you worked really hard on that test, and work on that growth mindset versus the outcome is another way with regards to words of affirmation. You're really a kind kid. You're a loving child. That was really, you know, lovely what you did the other day versus the beautiful, smart, pretty kind of stuff. And then, of course, some kids have that time spent, and that's quality time. Like, is that an extra 5 minutes of bed for books, or at different times during the day, or acts of service? So Gary Chapman's got a quiz. You can Google Gary Chapman off of the internet, and there's quizzes for kids, for teens, and then it's a nice conversation to have within a family to kind of identify what is everyone's love languages and what fills your love tank, so that we can be more mindful about that attachment and connection we have with our family. So one of those stories is when my husband and I first got together, he'd buy candy and gum and he'd put it in my pocket, and I'd be like, what? I don't even like candy or gum. But guess what his love language is? Gifts. So, but when he washes my car, I'm like, that's fantastic. So my husband and I have learned what each other's love languages are so that we can connect and be more mindful about what each other's love language is to connect with that. And one of the last things, I'm just mindful of time here, there's a Circle of Security is a website, and they've got some other videos that you can kind of look up, that I'm here talking about attachment. We want to really connect with our kids. And as a parent, I want to be that bigger, wiser, stronger, kinder, and be that secure base. So the hands on the top of this circle are that secure base, that when I'm feeling calm and comfortable, I want my kids to go out and bike ride. I want them to be comfortable going out to a certain period in my neighborhood, and I want to support that exploration of them out in the world. I want to delight over them, help them, and enjoy me, because that's when the kids are like, mom, mom, mom. I think my name is mom, 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 but they want me to delight in them, notice their activities, watch me bike ride, delight in me, enjoy in me. So that's when our kids are asking for us to audience them or kind of watch them. That's us learning to delight in them. And then our hands on the bottom of the circle are, we're that safe haven. So when they're out riding their bike and they skinned their knee, they come back. And I need you to comfort me. I need you to welcome me. I need you to help me organize my feelings about this scraped knee. And I'm scared about going out on the bike, right? So we need to be both. The secure base are the hands on the top, and the safe haven are the hands on the bottom that say, protect me, comfort me, delight in me, and help me organize my feelings about this really upsetting stuff that's going on in our world. And so we always want to be bigger, stronger, wiser, and kinder. We try to follow our child's needs, but if necessary, it does mean that we take charge. Attachment doesn't mean Lord of the Flies, let the kids do whatever they want. I do say no because I love you. I set limits and boundaries because I love you. So we're that secure base and that safe haven for our children. So I've got a video to end it off. It's by the Circle of Security. There we go. And
the circle graphic has been created to help you know what to look for, so you can read your children's behavior to guide you in meeting their needs. It's really not complicated. People of all ages have attachment needs. These needs can be divided in 3 ways. Let's look at this child. First, he needs to know the freedom and confidence to go out and explore his world. Second, he needs to feel assured that whenever he's ready, he can come back for comfort and protection. Third, he needs his caregiver to be in charge in a kind way. 3 basic needs that can be thought of as going out on the circle, coming in on the circle, and hands on the circle. Let's have a look in more detail. Feeling safe and supported, our children want to discover their world. When going out, they need to know that their exploration is encouraged, that we're right there watching over them, delighting in them, offering help when needed, and ready to enjoy their new adventures with them. And when they're coming in, they need us to refill their emotional cup. This means organizing their emotions and letting them know we are delighted to welcome them back, protect, comfort, and understand them. The key for us as parents is to remain strong and kind while knowing when to encourage their going out into the world and how to be available to welcome them back to us. It's crucial that we learn to identify our children's needs like this, because misreading them, or worse, missing them altogether, can cause pain and frustration. We all know how uncomfortable it can be to be held too close when we want to be out exploring, or kept at a distance when we need emotional support, or simply to be without someone who is bigger, stronger, wiser, and kind, who we can trust to understand what we need when we're feeling lost, confused, or out of control. When a child misbehaves, the cause is often rooted in how safe and secure they're feeling. So it's not surprising that they behave well when a parent learns to tune into their child's needs on the circle in this way. And because our needs on the circle never disappear, learning to read cues can help you better understand and meet the needs of people of all ages, including your own. So that's all there is to it. Just know that at any given moment, your child is somewhere on the circle asking you to meet a need. Support my going out. Welcome my coming in. Be the hands that keep me safe by staying in charge and committed to helping me feel connected. And please remember this. There's no such thing as perfect parenting. At Circle of Security, we've come to realize that good enough is, well, good enough.
So there we go. There's good enough parenting. And I think one of the key things about Circle of Security that I really like is that we are good enough parents, and that when my kids are seeking connection, they're having a behavior or acting out in some way, it is seeking connection. Regrettably, it's in a negative way. I always think attention seeking is connection seeking. So I need to get curious about what's going on for them. What need is not getting met? Is that them going out in the circle, needing to be delighted, or is that them coming in on the circle and needing some support to connect and reorganize their feelings? So that's another thing that I just think, try to see if we can get curious around what those needs are for your kiddos. And then I kind of think I've gone to one of my last slides here is the calm down toolkit. Is it for me that I need to calm down? Is it for the kiddo that I need to calm down? And what do I need? Do I need something from my body, my mind, or my soul that really is going to help me calm down or help my kid calm down as we're kind of seeking connection for one another? And then you know your kid best. Right? Is this a bucket filling kind of thing? Or is this a physical soothing? Is this naming the feelings? there's so much more that I'd love to chat with you further about. And we'll have some other seminars, I'm sure, that will continue to touch on kind of these calm down toolkits. So I think we've made it through our, we've got 10 minutes left for questions. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today and talking about whether to schedule or not, and the other hard questions with kids home full time. So I think, Nicole, I'll pass it back to you and we can kind of get some questions started.
Sounds great. Do you want to stop your screen sharing?
Sounds good.
Perfect. Oh, that was great. I just want to say I love the part about it that it's a relational crisis, not an educational crisis.
Right.
So that's a good one to hang on to all day when you're like, did you do your work? So someone is saying, oh, she really liked the metaphor of the puppy and the kitten. I am a right brain person and love visuals like the cat versus the puppy analogy. I currently have an 8-year-old going on 18. That's challenging some days, and a 4-year-old. And also we just got a puppy. So I'm living in a few life stages during the day. Way to just take on the situation, eh? My oldest changes like the wind. Some moments she wants her door shut and private time, and other times of the day she's smothering me. This is so good to realize that she isn't trying to bug me, but she's aching for something from me, which is connection. This session is teaching me so much and such a beautiful lesson for parents, surviving versus thriving. She said also that is great.
Right.
Yeah, that's awesome. Someone else is saying attention seeking is connection seeking. Really like that. This is a huge yes. Thank you so much, Christine. You're lovely to listen to, relate to, and the time flew by. Someone is asking, I have read the love language for adults. What is the website link for children to do the survey?
Oh yeah, so just go on to Gary Chapman's Love Languages website and there's a quiz section and you do a quiz for kids, and the kid, it says 9 to 12, but I have done it with younger than that, and it just goes through the questions. So you can be a kiddo, you can be a teenager, you can be an individual, or you can be a couple. So you just go through the questions and it spits out your answer at the end. And just build some conversation around it, right? Like, so I've done wrong. I've done it for like a 7 or 8-year-old and used the 9-year-old quiz, which was fine.
Cynthia Smith, she's a therapist with us, and she did a webinar a couple of weeks ago. The title is just not coming to me, but it's on the blog, and she used the love languages as kind of a basis for it, and I really liked how she used it to give ideas for how to meet those love languages in quarantine. But she started with, when you know your love language, what are things you can do right now? And it is a great suggestion to do with kids. I'd never thought of that before. You know,
I've got one kid that's a hugger. Like, seriously, I can do 1-minute hugs with her. I can rock. she wants me to brush her hair. She's like nail polish. Like, she is a puppy and cannot get enough affection. And my teenager, seriously, like, do not even come. Like, she hugged me in the last 4 years. I was like, oh my God, you just touched me. I didn't know what to do, right? It's like the cat that came on your lap. You're like, what are you doing? I can't, what? So it's, again, just being awareness of what my needs are, what my kiddos are, and see what we can do to meet them.
Oh yeah, and giving them language at a young age to ask for what they need. Their future partners will love you for that.
Totally. And that's why I get the teenagers to buy in. Teenagers are like, whatever. And they're like, I don't want to do this. So then I'm like, oh, but when you're a future partner or a current partner, so when you know these love languages, it makes you a better partner. And they're like, ooh. So that's sometimes a hook. Because teenagers and cats, you have to hook them, right? Here's the toy. Come on in. We have to have a hook. Yeah.
I have all boys, so I just put food out. That's an easy hook.
You know the hook. Yeah.
Oh. Okay. Any other questions or thoughts as we go? That was just rich with information. Yeah. If you think of questions afterwards, you're welcome to send them to us. You can send them to info@riversedgecounseling.com and they will forward the question to Christine. If it's a question for me about the upcoming webinars, or you have any other suggestions for talks or ways that we can support you in this time, just let us know. We have a couple of people thanking you, Christine, for your
Well,
talk.
thanks so much for spending us. And like I said, take what's useful and throw the rest away. It's all just ideas to kind of get you thinking to be your best selves. Good luck.
That was great. Yeah, and definitely join us in a couple weeks for the Family Manifesto workshop. That will be wonderful too. Yeah. Good. Thanks everybody for joining us, and stay well. Take care.